StraightAllDay.com.
What's going on, y'all? Baldwin, StraightAllDay.com. This video here is the next in a series of the diet and nutrition videos that I've been making. Just talking about changes that I made in my lifestyle as far as eating. So it's not necessarily a diet. When I say diet, I mean diet is in the way that I eat. Because a diet, if you say you're going on a diet, that's kind of like a temporary thing. I don't do temporary diets. I make complete changes to my lifestyle. Eating is a big part of all of our lives. So that's why I say it's a lifestyle change. And a friend of mine, when she first got me into this stuff, like learning more about the food that I'm eating, what I'm putting in my body, she said, understand, this is not a diet, this is a lifestyle. Because you had to change the entire way you're living when you're changing these foods. So that's the reason why I got to make sure you understand. When I say diet, I use that word because that most people identify, they know what I'm talking about when I say that. But you need to understand in detail what I mean when I say diet. It doesn't necessarily mean something you do for 6 weeks or a month. It means something you actually change completely about the way you live. So as we get into this, of course, I got to give my disclaimer at the beginning. I'll probably say this multiple times in this video. Understand that none of the information you're hearing coming out of my mouth right now is complete gospel. Okay, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a professional at this when it comes to what you put in your body. What I'm sharing with you here are the things that I've learned, the things that I know, the information that I have consumed. I'm sharing it with you. The most important thing all you need to understand, because I get a lot of questions every time I make these videos, and even when I'm not making them, I get questions about eating and food. Understand that if you want to make some changes in your diet and your body, or there's some things you want to improve, change, or things you don't know about, it is your job, it is your responsibility to educate yourself on these things. I didn't go to school for this. I didn't pay anybody for the information that I'm sharing with you. I got this information completely for free. Talking to people, number one, reading books, number two, on the internet, reading blogs, tweets, Facebook pages, whatever, number four. So none of this information is being withheld from any of you. If you don't have the information that I have, just because you haven't consumed it, and there's nothing stopping you from doing it. The time that you spend watching useless YouTube videos, not this one, but the useless ones, you could be consuming information for your body. You only get one body. All right, so, and a lot of times I talk about, well, not I talk about, but I think about certain things, or think about if I'm going to buy this or buy that. I think I talked about this a while back when I was talking to a female friend of mine, and she was telling me that maybe you should try this or that. I don't even remember what it was we were talking about. And I was like, damn, yo, that's kind of expensive. Whatever it was she was talking about, she looked at me, she said, Dre, it's your body. Like, you only get one of these. Like, you could buy a new pair of sneakers. You could buy a new phone. We all gonna get new phones. We all gonna get new laptop computers. We all gonna get new TVs when the new ones come out. 5 years from now, none of us gonna have the same cell phone or same laptop. You ain't gonna get a different body. If you fuck up the one you got by putting shit in it, you can't replace it. I mean, you can go get surgery and do different things, but it'll never be the same. You know, like Drake's album, nothing was the same. It won't be the same if you put shit in it, and you can't buy a new one. That's the equalizer between all of us. That no matter how much money anybody gets, once they mess up their body, there's nothing they can do about it. The poorest person can take care of their body better than the richest person if they're informed and they're motivated to do so. So now let's actually get into some real information I'm going to share here. Got a few points I want to get to. The first thing, someone asked me, Dre, can you go over, you know, what are the changes that you felt in your body or seen in yourself since you made this changeover to, you know, more clean eating, or just paying more attention to the way you eat? There isn't any one certain thing that I went straight to. I think it was about a year ago when I first started doing these diet and nutrition videos, I had become a vegetarian. I stopped eating red meat. What I actually found out later on was that the meat that I was eating it from a local supermarket, and that was like the meat that, if any of you ever watched any of those food documentaries, how they treat the animals, the animals are living unsanitary conditions, very small, confined spaces. They don't get to live a regular life, quote unquote. They're only born, they're raised just for the purpose of being killed and sold to the grocery stores in masses, in bulk. And that's how the American agricultural and the business of it keeps going, because we keep buying this stuff. That meat is not really good meat. I was eating, whenever I would eat red meat, say for dinner, I would eat a hamburger or even a turkey burger or a steak sandwich, and I would feel very sluggish the next day, and it didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, why is this? So I decided to see maybe if I stop eating that meat, maybe that'll help, and it definitely did help. Number one thing that's changed in me over the last year as far as with my eating lifestyle is that Number one, my energy's up. My energy is much higher. I don't ever feel sluggish when I wake up, even when I don't sleep a lot. Even if I don't get a lot of sleep, I get 4 hours of sleep. My energy's up once I get up. Once I'm up and on my feet, my energy's up. And that wasn't happening to me a year ago when I was eating that red meat. I was eating a lot of bad meat. The thing about that meat, I didn't get to this, is that it has a lot of antibiotics and a lot of chemicals are fed to those animals. Whatever those animals are eating, when you eat those animals from the grocery store, you're eating them. So when you buy meat from a grocery store, if it isn't marked any special way, i.e. free range meat, which means that's an animal that lived, like if you ever ride past a farm when you going like in the suburbs of a town or maybe in some cities and you see a big ass field and you see cows and shit walking around the big ass field of grass, that's free range. That's a range, and the cows are free to move about that range, and it's a pretty big space. Cows need a whole lot of space because all they do is walk around and graze. They eat the grass, and grass fed means cows that ate grass. Now the cows if you ever, any of you have never watched any of those documentaries, I suggest that you do. Not because I'm trying to freak you out or gross you out or scare you or however you may react emotionally to what you see. And you can find plenty of these videos on YouTube, also on my website. A page I'll refer to several times throughout this video is a page on my website called Diet and Nutrition. If you go to that page on my website, which is called dreallday.com, I'm sure y'all know that, Diet and Nutrition page, I share that one video that I found online that shows you what goes on behind the scenes in these factories. And this is a hidden camera video because they would never let cameras in there because they don't want the public to really know what's going on. So you understand, these are hidden camera videos that shows you what's really happening. Those animals live in such small confined spaces, they don't have grass to eat. You know, grass has to grow. Once the cows eat all the grass, they move to a different space and eat that grass, and then the other grass grows back. But if the cow doesn't have space to move around, then there's no grass. So what do the cows eat? They get fed a lot of grains, a lot of processed grains, and they get fed antibiotics, and what those are basically, and other things. They get fed things that cause them to grow faster than they naturally would grow. And the reason they do that, understand, is so that the cow will grow faster. The faster the cow grows, the sooner they can kill the cow, butcher the cow up, and ship it off to your local supermarket so you can buy it and then you can eat it. So whatever that cow was eating is now in your body. So that sluggish feeling I was feeling like shit whenever I ate red meat, even though it tasted good at the moment, but feeling like shit the next morning, whatever it was in those cows, whatever those cows were being fed, I was eating it. And that's why I was feeling terrible, because it wasn't natural food. It wasn't naturally occurring food that I was eating. Now I eat red meat that's more cleaner, more grass-fed, more organic meat, and I feel fine because those cows are eating natural foods, grass. They're drinking water. Basically, cows eat grass. I mean, it's pretty much all cows eat as far as I know. Chickens, I don't know exactly what they eat, don't get me to lying, but they're eating natural food. So when I eat meat now, I'm eating it from a cleaner source, which I will also get to. I'm eating more natural ingredients because by transitive properties, whatever those animals ate, I'm eating. All right, so understand that. So one important thing that I've found over the last year since I changed my diet is that my energy's up. I don't have those sluggish days anymore no matter what I eat, because even though I've gone back, I'm not vegetarian anymore. I switched to a more paleo diet. For those of you who don't know what paleo is, that's spelled P-A-L-E-O, paleo, for Paleolithic era. That is basically the quote-unquote caveman diet. This is the type of foods that man ate back when, back before there was civilization, when man lived in caves. When I say man, I mean humans, not man was man. All right, Paleo they ate animals, the animals they killed, which is meat. They ate vegetables, and they ate fruits. That's pretty much it, and they drank water. There was no juice, there was no unnatural sugars, none of that stuff even existed. All of that stuff is processed. That was created by man, which is another thing I'm gonna get to before the end of this video. All right, so now I'm on a paleo diet, which is meats, vegetables, fruits. That's pretty much all that I eat. I don't eat any processed foods. I don't drink anything other than water. And my energy is still up. I like eating meat. It's the reason why I changed back from vegetarian, because I was eating a lot of grains. And there are a lot of schools of thought that people don't like eating grains. Like, as far as if you talk to people who are onto the paleo diet, they're really against grains. They're against gluten. Those, I'm sure plenty of you heard of gluten-free foods, and we're going to get to that also before the end of this video. Next thing someone asked me is about cheat days. Do you ever have days where you just eat whatever you want, forget about your diet, and just gorge on stuff that you know you like, but you quote unquote are not supposed to eat? Do I ever have cheat days? The answer is yes. I absolutely do have cheat days. Usually it's once a week I have a cheat day. As far as why a cheat day is good for you or if it's bad for you, if you are to check out my man, Big Brandon Carter, he is a personal trainer up in New York City. He's from Chicago, I believe, and he's got a lot of information on the body as far as getting stronger, like ways to lift, ways to get gains, ways to get bigger muscles all throughout the body. And he talks about cheat days and why a cheat day is good for you. If you check out the book he wrote, my man Big Brandon Carter, if you go to his channel, just search Big Brandon Carter on YouTube. He actually put out a book. It's on Amazon right now. I reviewed it. I think it came out about a month ago. His book, he talks about why a cheat day is good for you in a scientific fashion. I don't remember exactly what he says, so I don't want to misquote the man. So get his book. I also did a video with Big Brandon Carter. So if you go to my channel, you go to Q&A videos or collaborations, whatever I call that set, that playlist, you'll see the video, the two-part video Q&A I did with Big Brandon Carter. He answered this question in detail. But the answer from me is yes, I do have cheat days where I eat whatever. I'll get some, some waffles, maybe eat some cake, something like that. I don't eat candy no more. That's another change that I made. The two biggest changes, I say, I stopped eating bad meat and I stopped consuming so much sugar. I would drink juice, which has a ton of sugar in it, and I was eating a lot of candy. Candy is like my vice. But I stopped eating candy completely. Those are the two biggest changes that I made. So I eliminated all that sugar, which was slowing my body down. I eliminated the bad meat, which was making me feel sluggish. So I do have cheat days. The thing about a cheat day is this. You have to ask yourself, because it's called a cheat day for a reason, because you're cheating on your normal lifestyle. So you got to ask yourself during that cheat day, how much of the work you did over the last week, the last 7 days, do you want to give back during your cheat day? Let's say, for example, you don't want to drink no more, right? So you stop drinking, you go the whole week, Monday through Friday, without drinking, and say Friday after work, happy hour, you go have a couple drinks because it's just your day to let loose. Now you have to ask yourself, how much of the good living that you did Monday through Friday do you want to give back with your drinking Friday night? Are you going to have one drink or are you going to have 10? There are levels to this. So just because it's a cheat day doesn't mean you should eat all day a bunch of shit. Maybe you only have one dish that's something quote-unquote bad, that's quote-unquote cheap. There are levels to it. So just because it's a cheat day doesn't mean you just do completely terrible stuff all day. Maybe you do one thing. Maybe you do two things. But the most important thing overall in general with the diet and nutrition is that you listen to your body. Now, I can't tell you exactly what's going to make your body feel better or make you perform better or make you sleep better or give you higher energy in the day. You have to try stuff out. You have to see what works for you. I made a ton of changes. If you go through the few diet and nutrition videos I put out, some of the things that I talk about in each video, I ended up changing by the time I made the next video. So everything you hear from me, as I said, is not gospel. Understand that by the time you watch this video, I may have changed something that I talk about in this video. So your job is to take in this information, apply it as it works for you. If you don't know how it's going to work for you, then your job is to research, read up on this stuff, ask questions, ask experts, email people. People got blogs, Twitters, Facebooks. They want you to contact them. Y'all know the information is out there, so just go and get it for yourself. It's free for you. You just have to go and consume it. Okay, the next question is about vegan diet versus the paleo diet. And I told you what the paleo diet is. That's meats, vegetables, fruits. The vegan diet is where you eat nothing that comes from an animal. That means no meat, obviously, and that you don't eat anything that comes from an animal. So from cows, we get milk. And from milk you get cheese. So a vegan does not eat anything that comes from an animal. I mean, it's the same as vegetarian, except there's no milk and no cheese. And anything else that comes from an animal. So like goat cheese, no type of cheese basically. Because cheese all comes from milk, and milk comes from an animal. And if you think about milk, why would humans be drinking milk of another animal? We're the only animals out there, because no humans are animals. We're the only animals who drink other animals' milk. Cows don't drink human milk. When we're babies, we drink milk from our mothers. But why would we drink milk from a cow? I don't consume milk anymore. I know plenty of you probably do consume milk. But if you think about that logically, why would that make sense to be drinking milk from an animal that's not your animal? Why not just drink human milk? And once we're old enough, we don't need milk anymore. We don't need our mother's milk, so why are we drinking cow's milk? But there are a lot of schools of thought on that, a lot of differing opinions. Again, read up on it, find what works for you, try different things, and see what's best for you. What's best for this guy might not be best for her over there, or you back there, or you in the front. So you got to figure out what works for you. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. There are a ton of options and opinions. You got to read through this stuff. Use your brain to process the information and find what's best for you. Okay. Now the thing about the paleo diet, you know, there are a lot of people out there who are really strong for animals. They're animal activists. They like, you know, don't eat animals. We don't kill animals. Animals should be treated right. But I was reading somebody who was a advocate of the paleo diet, and they made a very good point. They said, listen, life has a natural cycle of living and dying. All of us are born. Everything that's born will eventually die, right? Every one of us watching this video right now, including me, is gonna die one day. So every animal that's alive right now is one day gonna die. So when that animal dies of natural causes, that means it's not sent to a slaughterhouse and getting its throat slit, but it dies of natural causes, there's nothing wrong with eating that animal. This was her point. This is what she's saying. It's not what I'm saying. This is what she said. But I think it's a very good point. The animal's gonna die anyway. So instead of just throwing the whole carcass out and having it be waste, why not us use it for food? It was born naturally. It lived naturally. It ate grass naturally, what a cow naturally eats. It died, so we eat it, and it's not bothering our bodies to eat this stuff. So that's one point that she was making about the paleo diet for those of you who are wondering, you know, why eat animals or why not eat animals. I had a comment a couple videos ago. Somebody left a comment that said, you know, when I was talking about being vegetarian and I was saying all the bad things that happen to these animals in these factories, the big business that the meat industry is in America. Again, you guys check the YouTube video for the factories, the slaughterhouses, what happens inside them. There are plenty of videos, and they all got like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views, because people want to know what's going on. And as we gain more information in the world as humans, more of this stuff is starting to spread. That's why you hear more people talking about paleo, being vegan, vegetarian and stuff. 20 years ago, nobody was talking about this stuff. Now, everybody knows about it. Not everybody's doing it, but everybody knows about it because the information is all over the place. Okay, now I talked about grass-fed and free-range meat, how it's different from factory-bred meat. The animals that are in the factories, they get fed this bad stuff. They live in these small, cramped conditions. It's not the natural way that they live. They live in fear and anxiety. Understand that animals can sense fear. Animals don't. The difference between humans and cows and chickens and fish and things like that, our brains are much bigger. We had the ability to reason. We had the ability to look back on the past. We have the ability to contemplate the future. We have the ability to take a situation and reason through it and think rationally, like, hey, this is in front of us, but what about this? What about that? We have the ability to think about options. Animals don't have that. All animals can do is react. Animals just react in a moment. They don't have the ability to think, okay, this person is being hostile towards me, but maybe they're not mad at me. They might be mad at something that happened. I just happen to be in front of them. An animal doesn't have that ability. Animal senses your hostility. They're going to react however that animal reacts. They don't have the ability to think. You know what I'm saying? Like us, we get cut off in traffic. We might get mad. You might beep your horn. You might just let it go. An animal doesn't have the ability to think. Like, okay, maybe I should not go crazy about this because there are more important things in the world. We had that ability. Our brains are bigger. That's how we got to the top of the food chain. But understand that even though we have that larger brain, animals still have the natural senses, which means an animal can sense fear. An animal can sense your energy. So an animal is in a slaughterhouse. Let's say a cow. Let's say we were all cows, right? And I'm at the front of the line, or whoever's at the front of the line, and you seeing every cow in front of you go past that machinery and their throats getting slit. And you hear that wail of pain from each cow as their throat is getting slit, and you see that blood splashing on the floor, and you know you're moving up in the line. You know you're coming next. An animal knows that. Animals are not robots. They're not stupid. They can feel that fear. So when that animal dies, that cow dies that sees all of his other cows getting their throat slit, I mean that cow died in anxiety. It died with a feeling of fear. So those of you who are more into the spiritual side of things, you're putting that fear and anxiety, those negative energies, you're putting those energies into your body when you eat that meat that you buy from the grocery store. that meat that you get from TGI Fridays or Burger King or McDonald's, those meats, those are the shit meats that come from those factories. There's nothing high grade about any of that meat. It's cheap, and that's why it's so much of it. That's why it's able to sell for so little. McDonald's sells a hamburger for $1. That's because it's so cheap. And you know how much it costs them to make that hamburger? Next to nothing. That's why they can sell it for $1. That's a huge profit for them, because the meat is shit. They're getting fed antibiotics and unnatural stuff, and then you're putting it right back in your body. Is why you would feel like shit if you ate McDonald's, if you stopped eating it for, let's say, a month, and then you ate it, you'd be ready to throw up, because it's not natural. There's nothing natural about it. Next thing I want to talk about, the microwave. I had a friend of mine about maybe a year and a half ago. We were talking, and she was like, I don't use the microwave no more. And I'm like, what's wrong with a microwave? She was like, microwave puts radiation in your food. And I said, oh, no, it doesn't. It was like, it's radiation. That's eventually going to kill you. And I said, microwave's been around for 20 years. If there was radiation going into our food from a microwave, wouldn't we already know it by now and have stopped using it? Wouldn't that be like widespread news and everybody would know about it? And she said, well, Dre, think about it. Microwave is a compound word. It's two words, micro and wave, right? I said, yes. She said, okay, what does micro mean? I said, micro means small. She said, what does wave mean? I said, it's like waves going into the food. She said, what kind of waves? And I said, okay, radiation. You're absolutely right. And she said, those little holes in the back of the microwave. I'm trying to remember exactly what she said. The little holes in the back of the microwave are for the radiation to escape. So when you use a microwave, not only is the radiation going into your food, because it's unnatural think about if you had some food sitting in the refrigerator all day, and then you put it in the microwave for 30 seconds, and all of a sudden it's steaming hot. That's not natural, right? That doesn't make sense if you really think about it. You put it in the oven, it takes maybe 10, 15 minutes, right? But you put it in the microwave, it takes 30 seconds. Think about how that's possible. That's not natural, because it's radiation that's making your food hot. That's not natural heat. And then those little holes in the back of the microwave, that's for the radiation, the extra radiation, to escape. So not only is it going into your food, it's going into your environment. So if you got a microwave in your kitchen, every time you use it, radiation is coming out of that microwave and getting into your body. And it's not going to kill you on the spot, but it will eventually it builds up. It builds up slowly in the long run. And the thing about that type of thinking is a lot of us are more into the instant gratification. We think about what we want right now, what's good for us right now, what's bad for us right now. We don't really consider, maybe this doesn't feel that bad right now, but over 5, 10, 20 years, this is going to build up and kill me. This is what we eventually learned about cigarettes, right? Now, rarely do you see that many people smoking cigarettes, but once we learned that smoking cigarettes doesn't kill you on the spot, but every time you smoke one, you're shortening your life by 6 minutes. And then people started understanding, that makes sense. Now it's accepted. Now you see somebody smoking a cigarette, you're looking at them like, yo, you still smoking cigarettes in 2014? Like something's wrong with them, right? We learned this about sodas. In the 90s or late 80s, if you're old enough, you remember somebody went on a diet, right? And they stopped drinking Coke, but they started drinking Diet Coke. You'd be happy for them. Like, okay, girl, I see you. You on your diet. I see you eating good. You got yourself some Diet Coke instead of regular Coke. But what do we know now? We know that Diet Coke ain't shit neither. It's just as bad as regular Coke. They just put the word diet on it. The soda companies do this to sell you the idea that you're doing something healthy when you're really not doing a damn thing. It got just as much sugar as the other one. They just lowered certain things to be able, by the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, they say if your soda has this much or lower, you can call it diet. If it's this much or more, it's not diet. So they lowered that number. They got that number to the right spot, and now they can call it diet. But it ain't no different. You ain't on no diet if you're drinking Diet Coke. Okay, it ain't nothing but sugar. We've learned that. That's information that we learned. So, as I said in the beginning of this video, the world that we live in right now, that all you're living in and I'm living in, is the information age. All of this information is out there. We've learned so much about our bodies and about our food and how things work. And understand that it's 2014, it's February 2014 as I'm recording this video. Everything I'm talking about now, a lot of this might change by February 2015 or February 2030. We keep learning. We'll learn more stuff about our bodies. It might be things that we do now that we accept as good that might turn out to be terrible information. The same way we didn't think cigarettes were that bad, because we ain't see nobody dying on the spot from smoking a cigarette, right? You'll see somebody smoke a cigarette, go play a basketball game, score 30. We see somebody drink a Diet Coke and have big muscles, but now we realize that it's slowly breaking you down. So it's not always about the instant gratification. Like I used to go to the grocery store. You know, you go to the grocery store and you check out. Now they got the candy on the side, like the Snickers bars, the Skittles, the Reese's cups. I used to always, my instant gratification sensitivity, I would grab stuff. I'd give me a Snickers bar, a Reese's cup, spend that $2 and eat that stuff. I kept doing it, and one day I said to myself, I have more discipline than this. I was like, Dre, you gotta be more disciplined than that, and you know that you are. You just gotta stop buying that shit. And you know that this stuff is not helping you. You know, so I had to stop eating it because I wanted that instant gratification of getting it, but I knew in the long run, eating those Snickers bars and those Reese's cups not only was adding up and costing me money that I didn't even need to be spending, but it was also hurting my body. There's nothing of nutritional value in that candy. It's nothing but sugar. They just put it in different colors, different packages, and give it different names. But all it is unnatural processed sugar that you're putting in your body, which is not good for you. And those of you want to know why that's not good for you, go to my website, the diet and nutrition page, and I have several links. That diet and nutrition page is not written by me. Basically what I did is I gathered a bunch of links from people who know way more than me and put them all in one place. So when you go to that page, you're not reading information from my mouth, you're reading information from experts that I went and found for those of you who quote unquote don't know where to look, which is bullshit, but I put the page up there anyway, so all the information is right there for you. All you got to do is click on the links and you can read this stuff, and maybe, hopefully, reading one link will lead you to thinking about something else, and then you'll find your own information that may be in addition to what I've already shared. So that's the purpose of that page and a little bit about what's on that page. So if you just go to that page, hopefully I remember to put that link in the program description. But my website is Dre All Day, diet and nutrition page. There's only 2 clicks away, you'll find it. All right, next thing I want to talk about. All right, when people talk about the vegan and vegetarian and paleo diet examples, understand that even if you're an athlete, there is no one diet that is necessarily better than another for being an athlete. Carl Lewis, those of you know Carl Lewis, he was an Olympic athlete. I think he won 5 gold medals total in track and field. He did a bunch of different events. He was a vegan. He didn't eat anything that came from an animal. But then you look at somebody like LeBron James or Ray Allen. Let's say Ray Allen. Ray Allen, you know, y'all know who Ray Allen is. He is eating on a paleo lifestyle now. He just switched to it this past offseason. Ray Allen's like 37. Before that, he was just eating like a regular guy. And Ray Allen is pretty much a Hall of Fame basketball player. Well, he's definitely a Hall of Fame basketball player. So it doesn't necessarily, Michael Jordan ate steak before every game. I don't know what kind of steak he was eating, but he ate steak before every game. He wrote about this in one of his books. So he was eating meat. Carl Lewis wasn't eating no meat. Let's say somebody like LeBron James. I don't know what his diet is, but I'm guessing he's on a quote-unquote regular type of eating, maybe paleo like Ray Allen. There's all different ways of eating. There are vegetarian athletes, there are vegan athletes, there are clean eating quote-unquote athletes, there are paleo athletes. All of them are very good. So there isn't any one way that necessarily will make you a better athlete. My body is different from your body. If we both go vegetarian, me and you, I might feel terrible and you might feel like unstoppable. If we both go paleo, I might feel great and you might feel like shit. So you have to find what works for you. It's not any one size fits all, as I said before. There's no one thing that's guaranteed to work for you. You got to try things and figure out what works for you. This is how you get experience in life and how you get to the point where maybe then you can share some information with other people. Next topic. All right, so we talked about the microwave. I'll tell you a story. About a month ago, I was at the movies, right? And I was waiting for a friend of mine. She was late. And I'm standing I stood back from behind the concession stand, and I'm watching all these people go through the concession line. I'm looking at the menu of the concessions. And this is the reason I'm telling the story, just to talk about the new information we have these days. I'm looking at the menu of the concession stand. They got these big ass sodas. They got pretzels, nachos with very unnatural processed cheese, which is complete shit cheese. They got, what else they got? Candy. They got popcorn with that oily ass butter. What else? Hot dogs, which Lord knows what's in a hot dog. Don't even get me started on hot dogs. Hot dogs, what else they got in there? Ice cream. And I'm looking at the menu and I'm like, it ain't a single natural food on this menu. There's no positive nutritional value in not a single item on this entire menu. And they selling this stuff for $5, $6, $7 a piece. It's sold at like a 400% markup. People was lining up. People be lining up 20 deep to buy stuff at the movies, right? Y'all go to the movies, you know. You stood in that line and bought shit, and I ain't talking like I'm no saint. I done stood in line and bought candy, a bag of Skittles for $4. I used to work at a movie theater, so we was eating that shit all the time while we was at work on shift, eating popcorn, pretzels, pizzas that we was making in the microwave, all this shit. But it's new information these days. So those people, I was just looking at those people standing in line. I wasn't judging those people. I was just thinking about it like, damn, we know so much more these days, but people still gonna be who they are. They still wanna buy shit if they wanna buy shit. People still gonna get to the movies and think to themselves, oh, I'm gonna be sitting here for 2 hours, I'm gonna need something to eat. And then they buy that trash. Well, that's how the movies make their money. You know, the movies don't make their money by charging you to see the film. They make their money by selling you that food. That food don't cost them nothing. When they sell you a $4 bag of candy, they made like $3.90 on that candy, on that purchase from you. But that's a whole nother conversation. That's a business conversation. Now, last thing I want to talk about in this video is talking about processed foods. Those of you who don't know what a processed food is very important. You need to know what a processed food is because you're probably eating one. You probably just ate one or you're about to eat one. A processed food is a food that has to be manufactured in order to exist. If you go into a supermarket, when you walk in the market, if you go around the perimeter of the market, you got your produce. Your produce is vegetables and fruits, right? Vegetables and fruits are natural. They grow out of the ground or off a tree. They're natural. You go around the back, a lot of times you got the fish and you got the meat, right? That's the perimeter of a supermarket. Somewhere along those the four edges of the supermarket, let's say you got the front where all the registers at, and between those other 3 edges, somewhere over there, you got the meat, you got the vegetables, and you got the fruit, and you got the fish, if you want to put those in different categories. When you go into a supermarket, if you're going to eat clean, quote unquote, you want to clean up the way you eat, those are the only things you should be buying from a grocery store. Bread is a processed food. Bread does not grow on a tree. It doesn't grow out of the ground on a plant. Bread is created. When I say processed, that means you had to take certain ingredients in a factory, they put them together, and out pops this finished product. That's a processed food. Cereal is a processed food. Cereal does not, Frosted Flakes don't grow on no tree. Frosted Flakes are created, and I love Frosted Flakes, trust me. Somebody put a Frosted Flakes box in front of me right now, I could eat the whole box without thinking about it. I wouldn't do it, but I could do it. Frosted Flakes, Cheerios, Raisin Bran, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Rice Krispies, those are all my favorite cereals. I don't eat cereal no more. I haven't eaten cereal in over a year, but I ate it for 30 years. This is processed foods. Hot dogs are processed. Certain foods can be processed or unprocessed. So let's say something like a hamburger. A hamburger can be processed or unprocessed depending on the type of, let me not say that. It's put together into that shape, like the circle and all that. It don't come like that. You know, meat from a cow don't just come in a circle in a little cylinder shaped like a disc. But depending on the type of foods that cow was fed. So when you eat meat nowadays, you know, when you go to a restaurant, a lot of times they'll denote like, hey, this is organic meat, this is grass-fed meat, this is free-range meat, or if it doesn't say anything, guess what? It's shit meat. That animal was fed antibiotics and grains and a bunch of shit and probably lived in a very unsanitary environment before it was killed, so it was shipped to the restaurant for you to eat it. If it doesn't say anything, that's what it is these days, because restaurants know that people know now, they know that you know that there are certain good meats and bad meats. So if you go to a restaurant or you go buy some meat at a supermarket, at a deli, and it doesn't say anything special about that type of meat, that means it's pretty much bullshit meat. It's shit meat that you're putting in your body. And you might be eating it right now, but it's better that you know so that you can make changes than to live in ignorance and not know what it is that you're putting in your body. I remember I was telling my dad this. I was home about a month ago, and I was telling my dad that. He kind of laughed, because I was explaining to him about the bad meats, like how they feed these animals and treat these animals, and I said, he was making some hamburgers at the time, and I said, you know, I really don't want to tell you this right before you eat that hamburger, because what you're about to eat is pretty much the stuff that I'm describing to you. And he was like, I don't care, I'm going to eat it anyway. Some people are just going to be like that. I mean, that's just what it is. Some people make that decision, but I'd rather you, if you're going to make that decision, make the decision knowing that you have a choice. All right, that's the most important point. So when we talk about processed foods, I read the statistics somewhere that in the 1970s, there were 8,000 known foods in the world. 8,000 different foods total of everything you could eat, anything you could name. There were 8,000 different foods. Now there are 40,000 foods. So what happened? Are there some new plants and trees in the world? Are there 32,000 new plants and trees producing new foods for us to eat? Hell no. It's pretty much the same plants and trees as there was back in the 70s. What's the difference? More processes. We got a lot of smart people, some scientists, some chemists. They go into a factory and they come up with new stuff. Crackers, potato chips, cereals, sodas, breads. All of this stuff is processed foods. It is created. People manufacture this stuff from nothing to something. They take a bunch of different ingredients and they put it together and they come up with a food, and then we buy it. It costs them very little money to create this stuff. So when they sell it to you, they're making a huge amount of money. That's the reason why they stay in business, because they can keep making and making and making because we keep buying it. That's how the business works. That's how business works everywhere. The more people buy it, the more they can keep making it, at least when you're talking about a tangible product like food. So we talk about processed foods. When you go to the grocery store, next thing you about to eat, matter of fact, if it has a label, if it's in a package, if it can sit on the shelf for 3 weeks and still be good and fresh, that's a processed food. Natural foods go bad. I'm sure plenty of you saw the movie Super Size Me. If you don't know the name, is when the guy ate McDonald's for 30 days straight. All right, he did an experiment. He took some McDonald's French fries. And there ain't nobody in here who ever ate McDonald's French fries who don't love McDonald's French fries, including me, and I ain't ate McDonald's in like 10 years. He had some McDonald's French fries, right? He put them down on the counter in his house, and he left them there. He didn't touch them or move them for a month. He came back to the fries. Were they molded? Were there ants and roaches crawling on it? Did they go bad? No, nothing happened. The fries looked exactly the same. No change, no molding, no deformity, nothing. You know why? Because nothing natural in that food. McDonald's fries are processed. They're heavily processed. It costs McDonald's next to nothing to make some fries, but they'll charge you $2.79 for a large fry. It's all profit for them. That's why McDonald's makes so much money. People don't mind eating this shit. You know why they don't mind eating it? Because it feels so good to eat it during that 5 minutes you eating it. But over the next 5 years, that food is killing you. But this is the thing humans don't think about. Most humans, we only think about what we want right now. We don't think about the ramifications of it over the next 5 to 10 years. This is the type of stuff that you need to educate yourself on. I'm not here trying to preach to you. I'm just here sharing it with you so that you know that you are making a decision when you put certain foods in your body. You are making a choice. And if you continue to make that choice, it's your choice. You can't say you don't know because you're watching this video. Can't say you didn't know and have that as acceptable because we're in an information age where all the information is out there. There's nothing stopping you from knowing about it. If you don't know, that's not okay. Ignorance is no excuse. Okay? So processed foods. Next time you eat something, read the label. My friend told me this back when I first changed over to eating more, changed my eating lifestyle. She said, read the labels, Dre. If that product has more than 5 ingredients in it, it is not natural. It's processed. It's heavily processed. More than 5 ingredients in one food, just think about that. More than 5 things needed to make one thing is not natural at all. If it has any ingredients which you cannot pronounce and or define or explain what they are, why are you eating it? Like, I was home with my parents about a month ago, right? And they had like some snacks like crackers or something sitting on the kitchen table. And I picked up the box and I started reading the label off to them. And it was like deoxyhydrated riboflavin potassium zintate or some shit like that. Y'all know how the labels be on the food. And I was like, what is that? Either you know what that is, and they both just start laughing. And I'm like, you know, you're eating this. You're putting this in your body. You have no idea what it is, but you're eating it every single day, and you just bought this, so you're going to eat this. You have no idea what it is, but you're about to eat this. These are the type of things you need to know. When you eat food, when you go to the supermarket from now on, look at the labels of everything you put in your cart. Ideally, there ain't no labels, because if you buy meat, vegetables, and fruit, there's no label on fruit. There's no label on the vegetable, because it's self-evident. A cucumber is a cucumber. Orange is an orange. There's only one ingredient in an orange, just an orange. An apple, a banana, spinach, hamburger. There are no ingredients in this stuff. It's all completely natural. Well, not the meat exactly, but we already talked about meat. Vegetables and fruits, that green stuff, that stuff is alive. It puts life into your body. When you eat that bad meat, you're putting death into your body. That's a dead animal. They had to kill that animal for you to eat it. You're putting death into your body. So those of you who are into that spiritual stuff, I talked about that before. All right, so I'm going to keep repeating myself. I think that's all I got to say for now on the diet and nutrition tip. Any of you who have any questions, first of all, before you leave a comment with your question, first thing, go to my website, dreallday.com, the diet and nutrition page. I probably have a link which will answer your question on that site, answered by somebody who knows way more about this stuff than I do. So do not ask me questions as if I'm an expert, because I absolutely am not an expert. I want to get a nutritionist on here, so if there are any nutritionists on YouTube watching this video, or any of you know of someone who's a nutritionist that is on YouTube, let me know in the comments or send me an email who that person is. I want to try to get a collaboration video with somebody who's an expert in the foods that we put in our body, so I can get some really good information to you coming straight from the horse's mouth as somebody who does this for a living. Me, I don't do nutrition for a living, but I've educated myself, so I'm sharing with you what I know so that you be smart enough to inform yourself so you know what the fuck you're putting in your body, if you're killing yourself or you're keeping yourself alive. That's that. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.
Listen to me, I can't say it enough. Not only work on your game, perfect your craft. It's your craft. It don't belong to nobody else. Nobody else is responsible for it. You can do, you can be, you can have whatever you want. So for real, work on your game.